I recall the day I was born with perfect clarity, though many centuries have passed. My mother Leto had wandered for days, heavy with child, searching desperately for some place, any place, where she could safely give birth. You see, my uncle Zeus had taken my mother as his lover, infuriating his wife Hera. In her jealousy and rage, Hera cursed my mother so that she could not give birth on any land. Finally, after days of struggling, my mother spotted a small, floating island on the horizon. This was the Isle of Delos. Exhausted, she waded ashore and collapsed on the beach. The contractions had already begun. Through the haze of pain, my mother pleaded with the island not to reject her, promising that if it allowed her to give birth, it would be honored above all other lands. Delos kept its word, and there upon the sand I slipped from my mother's womb, the first twin born. Even as an infant I was strong, and I helped my mother push my brother Apollo from her body. We rested together on the shore, mother and children, as the island of Delos celebrated around us, rejoicing at our arrival. And so it was that I, Artemis, goddess of the hunt, came into this world on the floating isle that would forever after be deemed sacred. My youth and becoming. I grew quickly into a wild, woodland spirit. While other young girls played with dolls, I roamed the forests with my bow, hunting beside my brother. But Apollo soon tired of this game, wishing instead to pursue music and prophecy in Delphi. And so in those early years it fell to me to provide for my mother, hunting deer and boar to feed us. The forests of Delos became my domain. As I matured into womanhood, my powers blossomed. I had a unique bond with all creatures of the wild, and they obeyed my silent commands. My skill with the bow was unmatched, I never missed my target. The moon titan Selene gifted me her silver arrows and the ability to move unseen through the night. And so I came fully into my role, the great huntress who stalks the shadows and forests, protector of all wildlife both wild and tame. My shrines began to appear across the lands as more came to know of me. But I chose to remain unwed, devoted only to the wild and the hunt. No man would ever hold power over me. The maiden goddess, they called me, and so I have remained for all time. I took my place proudly among the immortals of Mount Olympus, where I am honored as a daughter of Zeus. The tragedy of Orion. Of all my suitors, none touched my heart as deeply as the great hunter Orion. Tall and brave, with a form carved of muscle and sinew, he was well matched to my woodland skills. We roamed the forests together, two souls bonded by our love of the hunt. I showed him all my secret glades and taught him to track even the wiliest deer. At night we lay beneath the stars and Orion told me the names of all the constellations. It was during one such night that disaster struck. As we gazed at the heavens, Orion boasted he would slay any beast that crossed his path. Angered by his arrogance, either by my own hand or by the will of the gods, I let loose a dart that struck Orion down. Horrified by what I had done, I pleaded with my uncle Zeus to bring Orion back to life. But Zeus refused, instead placing Orion's constellation in the night sky so that I might look upon his face forever. The loss of Orion opened a wound in my heart that has never fully healed, a reminder of the fragility of life and love. His stars are the brightest in the sky, and each night I gaze up missing his smile and strong arms, wondering what might have been. The shame of Actaeon. Still grieving Orion's death, I began to shun all human contact, living as a recluse deep in the forest glades. It was there one afternoon, weary from hunting, that I came upon a quiet pool. Thinking myself alone, I disrobed to bathe in the cool waters, washing the sweat and dirt from my skin. Suddenly I heard a snap of twigs. Whirling, I found the young hunter Actaeon staring at me in shock, having stumbled unknowingly upon my bathing. Mortified to be seen so exposed and vulnerable, my rage overcame me. Before Actaeon could utter a word, I splashed water onto his face using my hands. As the droplets fell, Actaeon's smooth skin sprouted hair and his hands became hooves. Antlers grew proudly from his brow. I had transformed him into a stag. Actaeon fled in panic, but my woods were home to his hounds. Not recognizing their master in his new form, they gave chase, bringing him swiftly to the ground. I could only watch in sorrow as Actaeon was torn to pieces by his own dogs. It was a harsh lesson that none should glimpse the goddess of the wild without her consent. From that day I swore never again to disrobe outside the company of my fellow immortals. The Caledonian Boar. Word of my wrath had spread far and wide by the time King Oeneus of Calydon failed to include me in a great sacrifice given in thanks for a bountiful harvest. Insulted, I conjured a monstrous boar to ravage the lands and strike fear into the people's hearts. Its tusks and razor-sharp bristles could fell even the mightiest oak with a single thrust. The beast wrought chaos across Calydon, destroying crops and livestock, even killing some of the king's men. In desperation, Oeneus appealed to the greatest heroes of Greece for aid, promising the boar's hide and tusks as prizes. And so they came, mighty Heracles, swift Theseus, and the beautiful huntress Atalanta. But none could best the boar alone. Taking pity on the people, I agreed to help fell the beast if Oeneus built me a great temple. Under my guidance we tracked the boar, and in a fierce battle it was Atalanta's arrow, guided by my hand, that finally brought the monster down. From that day Calydon prospered once more, and my temple stood as a reminder of the power and mercy of the huntress. The pride of Niobe. Proud Queen Niobe of Thebes had borne many children, 6 daughters and 6 strong sons. But in her hubris, she dared to compare herself to my mother Leto, claiming she was superior for having borne more offspring. Enraged by the insult, I resolved to put the queen in her place. First, I summoned my twin Apollo and bade him slay Niobe's sons. Silently he drew his bow, loosing 6 unerring arrows that felled each prince where they stood. I then took to the skies, raining down arrows of my own upon the daughters of Niobe. Screams rent the air as my silver-tipped shafts found their marks. By dusk, all 12 children lay dead. Niobe's cries of anguish echoed through the night, but I showed her no mercy or sympathy. Her pride had demanded punishment, and so for 9 long days she wept over the bodies without food or drink. At last her tears turned to stone, as did her form, leaving her frozen atop Mount Sipylus as an eternal monument against any who dare challenge the gods. Let all remember no mortal may surpass the immortals. Reflections. As I look back now across the many centuries of my long life, I see how far I have come from that babe born on Delos's shores. A wild girl of the woods am I no more, I walk now as an immortal among immortals, a daughter of the king of the gods. My domains are the hunt, wild animals, chastity and childbirth. The moon is my companion and my silver arrows will never falter. Though great sorrows have marked my path, chiefly the loss of Orion, I do not regret the harsh justice I have dealt those who cross me. It is through fear that I protect the wild places and creatures under my care. And if any dare defy the gods, they will face my unerring wrath. I am Artemis, huntress, protector, virgin goddess of the moon. My place on Olympus is eternal, and I shall stalk the shadows of the earth until the end of time.